Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the very idea of switching operating systems, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to completely demystify Linux. Our goal? To give you a super clear, structured, and honestly stress-free path to transition your computer away from Windows or Mac. We'll be walking you step by step through the entire process.
Okay, let's dive right into this. It's no secret that a lot of us are feeling deeply frustrated with our current computer setups. You absolutely know the feeling. Bloated operating systems that act super sluggish, those endless forced updates right when you're in the middle of a crucial Zoom call, and heavy background processes that just bring older hardware to an absolute crawl. It feels like your machine just doesn't belong to you anymore, right? Well, that is exactly why millions of users are finally taking back control and making the switch to Linux Mint 22.3.
To get you up and running with confidence, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at why you should choose Linux Mint. Second, how to choose between the Cinnamon, Mate, or XFCE editions. Third, preparing your hardware. And finally, the step-by-step installation guide.
All right, Section 1, Why Choose Linux Mint? Let's look at what makes this OS so welcoming.
The benefits here are absolutely massive. First off, Mint is entirely community-funded. That means no annoying corporate subscriptions, no telemetry, which, if we're being honest, is basically just background data tracking, harvesting your personal info, and absolutely no forced updates interrupting your flow. It's a 100% free and open source. It also features a really familiar Windows-like interface, so your learning curve is practically zero. Plus, it's incredibly efficient. I mean, it can literally revive hardware as old as a 2010 MacBook Air. And since version 22.3 is a long-term support release, you're fully covered with security patches all the way until April 2029. You install it, and it is ready to use right out of the box.
Now, when we say efficient, the numbers really speak for themselves here. While Windows 11 can consume a massive 3,000 megabytes of memory just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, and the GNOME desktop uses around 1,400, Linux Mint's flagship Cinnamon edition, it sits beautifully at around 900 megabytes. That is a completely night and day difference. To put that into perspective, it means Mint leaves so much more memory available for your actual work, keeping your system fast, snappy, and honestly, just a joy to use.
Moving on to Section 2, Cinnamon, Mate, or XFCE. Time to choose your specific edition.
So before hitting download, you just need to pick your flavor. Cinnamon is the flagship edition. It's the most modern, slick, and full-featured desktop, which is perfect if you want a really innovative layout. Mate, on the other hand, uses a more traditional, classic design and runs noticeably faster because it uses fewer system resources. And finally, we have XFC. This one is the most lightweight and extremely stable, an absolute lifesaver if you're trying to revive severely aged hardware. Now, don't sweat this choice too much because the actual installation process is completely identical for all three. My advice, if you're a beginner and your computer was made any time in the last decade, definitely start with the Cinnamon edition.
Okay, Section 3, Preparing Your Hardware. This is our essential pre-flight check.
I absolutely love this quote, straight from our sources. Think of this as setting the foundation of a house. If this part is solid, everything you add later feels easier and safer. And that is exactly the mindset we need for this installation. Proper hardware preparation literally eliminates almost all of those potential headaches before they even happen.
So here is the crucial checklist. First up, always back up your important personal data. Next, if you're on Windows, you need to disable fast startup and turn off BitLocker encryption. If you don't, they'll lock your drive and block the installer completely. Then, as your computer turns on, enter your BIOS menu and change the storage mode from Intel RST to AHCI or SATA mode. This simply allows Linux Mint to actually see your hard drive. Finally, while you're poking around in the BIOS, just disable Secure Boot to avoid any third-party driver conflicts. Taking a few minutes to configure these settings basically guarantees you won't hit a wall during the install.
Which brings us to Section 4, Step-by-Step Installation. Let's execute this with precision.
Here is the exact timeline for creating your bootable media. At minute 0, you'll download the Linux Mint ISO file directly from their official website. At minute 5, you're going to flash that file onto an empty USB drive. Make sure it's at least 4 gigabytes. We highly recommend using a free tool called Rufus if you're on Windows, or Balena Etcher if you're doing this from a Mac. By minute 10, you just restart your computer, hit your boot menu key, usually F12, delete, or the option key, and select that USB drive. And boom, by minute 12, your computer will successfully enter the Linux Mint live environment.
Now, what's truly revolutionary here is how this live mode actually functions. It's totally designed to relieve any installation anxiety by acting as a completely safe, consequence-free test drive. You are literally running the entire operating system right off your USB stick without altering a single byte of data on your hard drive. This gives you the perfect opportunity to test your Wi-Fi, listen to your audio, and just make sure your hardware is fully compatible before you commit to the install. Once you've tested things out and you're feeling good to go, simply double-click the Install Linux Mint icon right there on the live desktop. The installer will open up and ask you to connect to your Wi-Fi network and then select your language and keyboard layout. Now, pay super close attention to this next part. You must make absolutely sure you check the box that says Install Multimedia Codecs. Do not skip this. Checking this box means your video files, audio streams, and basic media will work flawlessly right out of the box, saving you from super annoying troubleshooting later. After that, you just set your time zone and create your user profile.
Right in the middle of setup, you're going to hit a critical fork in the road. Option 1 is Erase Disk, which, as it sounds, completely wipes your entire hard drive to install Linux Mint. Only pick this if you have fully backed up your files or if you are completely ready to permanently eliminate Windows. Option 2 is Install alongside Windows, which creates what we call a dual boot setup. This keeps your Windows system totally intact alongside Linux, meaning you get to choose which operating system you want to use every single time you boot up your machine.
All right, once the installation finishes and you reboot, there are just a few vital post-installation steps to really lock in that system stability. First, pop open the Update Manager and apply all system updates. Second, open your firewall configuration and simply toggle the UFW firewall on. Bam! Instant security on public networks. Third, configure time shift. This tool is incredible. It creates system snapshots and acts as a magical undo button for your entire operating system just in case an update ever breaks anything. Finally, open the software manager and grab your favorite apps. You can get Firefox for browsing, VLC for media, or even a super cool app called Bottles, which creates isolated environments allowing you to run your old Windows software right inside Linux.
And that basically brings us to the end of our roadmap. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to escape the frustration and make your computer feel like home again? Because Linux Mint is entirely about empowering you to take back control of your hardware, offering a stable, private, and exceptionally designed experience. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you feel fully equipped to grab a USB drive and confidently give Linux Mint a try today.